Welcome to season 3 of You Are Significant, the podcast where real stories are told by real people that create more awareness of your own significance. You were created on purpose for a purpose with seeds of greatness inside of you. Ready to grow? Let's get down to it. Hey, friend, it is summer and I love the month of June. I think it kind of sneaks up that this month has the longest day of the year when it stays daylight the longest and it doesn't get dark until like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. And so this is such a fun time of year when you can go to the pool, you can stay out in your garden, you can camp, you can grill, you can have friends over and sit out on the patio and just chat and enjoy some sweet tea together outside and enjoy usually in June in Alabama, it is not as hot and even maybe as humid as it will suddenly get in July. So it's kind of like the end of spring and the beginning of summer. It's that last breath before the excruciating heat begins in July when all the flowers that you bought and you've been nurturing and watering and putting fertilizer on, all of a sudden everything is going to be stressed. So, this is such a great month to really enjoy. A lot of people have VBSs, camp, church camp. My son is in Boy Scouts. They'll have Boy Scout camp. There's lots of different camps, even retreats to go to. This is a time when we're doing other things that we don't get to do all year when the kids are in school, when there's, holidays, a lot of holidays, both the winter holidays and then the spring holidays to do. All of that is over. And this is a time of year when we get to see people that we don't see all the time. And in some ways, June reminds me a lot of December because we are seeing people that we don't see the rest of the year, maybe. Maybe it's at that VBS that you have at church. Other churches come together, kids, adults, and you get to see them there. And you don't maybe get to see them and spend time with them like that any other time of year. Same thing with camp. We went to the same summer camp and adults were the volunteers. So lots of parent volunteers at this summer camp that we took our kids to for 23 years. And between my oldest daughter and my youngest daughter, because they could start when they were 3 years old as a day camper, and you had to get a hotel and take them back and forth all week, or you got to, whichever way you want to look at it. We went for 23 years to this same camp, and we got to see people every day, long days, hot, getting to sing and study and craft and do all kinds, eat, do fun things together. And we only got to see each other at this camp, this summer camp every year. And so when we stopped going, for the longest time, I got messages from people saying, I miss you. Are you coming to summer camp next year? I missed you. Where were you? And it really, when your kids get grown, things change. And that's one of the things that I did miss. But it makes me think about how we see people this month that we don't the rest of the year. And that particular point is something I wanted to hone in on a specific detail. It's something we've talked about before in You Are Significant, and that is forgiveness and how key it is to practice forgiveness. And I can remember 10, even 10 years ago, probably, that I would say definitely 15 years ago, I did not understand forgiveness. And I remember after some really hard things had happened in my marriage, just different things even happening in life. I was probably mid 30s, right? When mid 30s can be sort of a come to Jesus age, when you start to, things pile, right? Things are compounding, and you got to start learning some new skills, how to deal with life and how to deal with people and how to deal with yourself so that you can be healthy spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and then physically. And so I remember standing in my bathroom at the sink. The way our house was, we had two vanity rooms that had their own counter, their own sink, their own big, huge mirror. And then there was a tiny room in the middle. It was like a L shape that had the potty, the little toilet, and the shower. I remember standing in my vanity room at the sink and thinking, I have got to learn what forgiveness is. And I got this book by Joyce Meyer that she wrote on forgiveness. It's kind of a pink jacket. And I think I had the audio version, which honestly might have been cassette tapes back then, or maybe CDs. But I started listening to that book and just learning a little bit more about forgiveness and what forgiveness is. And one of the things that helped me that I've learned about forgiveness that I wanted to pass on to you today is that forgiveness is not a one time thing. And I'm not sure what order you need to hear this in. So forgive me if it seems out of order to you. But forgiveness is not a one time thing. When we have forgiven, we do need to process. And I teach a process in my Harmony Health and Wellness Recovery Program. It's a 12-step program, Bible based, and I teach women how to process who did it, what happened, their emotions. And it's a way, it's actually a formula in the Bible that was given to us to practice forgiveness and letting go. And so I've heard Christians debate on forgiveness and if you have to forgive if they haven't come to you and asked for forgiveness. But I want to say, without addressing that quite yet, that whatever you believe about forgiveness, and we can discuss forgiveness in those details, and maybe that could be a whole nother episode. But forgiveness is not a one time thing. Once you've decided to forgive, every time the offense memory comes up, you have to decide again. The beauty of it is that when the thought comes up, whether it's triggered by a smell or a song or a noise or a person you see, whatever triggers the memory, when you think of it again and again and again over time, when you choose to forgive, it gets easier and the pain of what happened lessens and lessens and lessens and lessens until it, when you can think of that memory and you don't respond with any pain, you respond with simply the memory and peace. That is where forgiveness will get you. So, forgiveness is this beautiful tool that is really not a noun, it is an action. Forgiveness is not something you give someone as if it's just a gift, it's something you practice, it's something you do. And as you do it, even mentally in your mind, that person may be deceased. That person may have moved across the country, across the world, and you never see them, which is all the more reason, right, for you to not harbor bitterness and resentment, because you're not hurting them if you chose that. You're only hurting yourself. Bitterness and resentment show up as back pain, stomach pain, arthritis, crippling degenerative arthritis. And sometimes we suffer from what's programmed in our DNA by someone else who came before us, not even our own. But we can still break generational curses by choosing forgiveness, by choosing to breathe. Breathe in life and exhale sadness. Exhale and release back to God the unforgiveness, the resentment, the pain, and not choose to hold it in and carry it. That is not doing anyone any good. And I think that takes us back to how to practice forgiveness, because sometimes people carry resentment and bitterness and what happened and how that made me feel and how it makes me feel now that I'm so angry and I can't forgive them. What they did is unforgivable. And I'm not saying anything different, that your pain is immense and what they did could have been so wrong. But one thing that has helped me to practice forgiveness of what seems unforgivable is that God sees all sin as the same, that I have sinned. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. I've sinned and God forgives me. And He asks me to forgive others, and the way that I forgive is how I will be forgiven. I'm not the one who's going to punish. If I forgive them, it releases me from carrying that burden of what's really only hurting me: resentment, bitterness, pain, debilitating, toxic frequency in my body. And God is going to hold them accountable. He's the one who can forgive sin. I can forgive wrongs and how I've been wronged, but God is the one who is going to decide in Judgment Day, in the end, whether they are forgiven of sin. But He asked me to forgive wrongs and how I've been wronged. And the way I forgive wrongs against myself is the way He's going to forgive me of my wrongs against Him. Wow. Is that sobering? So sobering. And it's also huge motivation to simply release, to just give it to God, let Him take care of it, release myself, release the other person, not saying to myself what they did is okay or right. No, simply saying, I'm not carrying it. I'm not the judge. God is going to be the judge. God is going to hold them accountable, responsible. He is going to be the one that decides. He knows their heart. He knows their struggles. He knows what formed them into this creature that did such a thing. I don't know all those details, but God does. And so I can be released. You can be released by continuing to practice forgiveness. And every time you forgive, it loses its pain over you, it loses its power over you. Every time you think of it and you say, no, I've already processed that, I've already forgiven that, you can basically tell Satan, you're not controlling me with that. You're not stealing my energy. You're not stealing my thoughts. You're not stealing my time. These things are staying right here I give that to God. I forgave it. And you can simply move on and carry all your love, all your energy, all your high frequency, which is the fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, faith, goodness, meekness, self control, right along with you instead of allowing unforgiveness to pull you down and pull away your gifts of the fruit of the Spirit. So I hope this blesses you. I didn't want to make a very long episode today because it is summer and I want you to get back to playing board games with your kids, going to the pool, having a picnic, playing Uno while you're camping, doing the fun things. Summer is such a special, sweet time, but I wanted to give that to you because you might be struggling and maybe you can forgive someone that you're going to see that's maybe hurt you before and you haven't been quite sure, how do I practice forgiveness? What is forgiveness? How do I do that? And you're not broken. You're absolutely on track if you think of it again. Sometimes we hear this saying of like forgive and forget. But forgetting is something God does on the accountability book when someone repents. For us as humans, we may never forget, but we can forgive. And in the sense of holding them accountable to me, I can forget that. So please reach out to me. Let me know if you listened to this episode on forgiveness and if it was a blessing to you. I'm at the Darlene Lee, both in Facebook and in Instagram. The Darlene Lee. And I just love you so much. Happy summer. Until next time. Thank you for tuning in to You Are Significant. I hope that this episode helped you to embrace your own God given purpose. Please share this out with a friend and remember to subscribe. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time, walk in faith, find the joy, and stand in your own significance.